Hello friends and welcome back to edupediaworld.com. In this session we'll be discussing a third model related to oligopoly type of market structure, that is Cournot's model of oligopoly, and we'll study that how price and output is determined under this model. See, up till now we have discussed and studied that firms compete with each other on the basis of price. Now this is the first model which is not on the basis of price, like it assumes that the sellers in a particular type of market structure, that is oligopoly, compete with each other not on the basis of price but on the basis of other strategies, for example advertisement, product differentiation, etc. Plus this particular model is the first formal model to determine price and output under oligopoly type of market structure. This was given by Augustin Cournot and it was in the year 1838. Now let's see what are the various assumptions to this model. First assumption is that there are two firms each owning an artesian mineral water. See, Augustin Cournot started discussing about this model by taking example of just two firms, a duopoly situation. Duopoly refers to a situation where there are only two sellers in a oligopoly type of market structure. We can take the example of Boeing and Airbus in airliner industry, then sugar and salt industry in UK. There are just two sellers in these particular industries. The other assumption is that both the firms operate their wells at zero cost. Now here under this model, the average cost and the marginal cost is considered to be zero. They only have the average revenue and marginal revenue curves. The third assumption is that both of them face a demand curve with constant negative slope. That means that the demand curve follows the simple law of demand. Then each seller acts on assumption that his competitor will not react to his decision to change his output and price. That is because they are just two sellers and they are not basically competing with each other. They have their own market share. So they suppose that whatever changes they do to their output and pricing decision, the other seller will not react to that. Now let's see that how price and output are determined under Cournot's model of oligopoly. Now let's start with, say there is just one seller in the market A and he is selling mineral water. Let's see that how he determines his price and output. Now as I already told you that the demand curve will be a negative sloping curve according to the assumption. So this is the demand curve, or we can say this is the average revenue curve. Now following this demand curve, we can predict the behavior of marginal revenue, and the marginal revenue curve will be like this. This is the marginal revenue curve. Now we can see here, because we assume that there is no cost of production, that is there is no marginal cost and there is no average cost, so the profit maximizing output is at a point where marginal cost is zero. That is where the marginal revenue curve cuts the x-axis, that is the profit maximizing output. At this particular point, let's name it as, this is the quantity to be supplied by seller A. At this particular point, the marginal cost is equals to marginal revenue, and this is the profit maximizing output. Now we extend this point to the AR curve and we can determine the prices. So seller A sells his product at price OP2 and the quantity which he is selling is OQ. Now see, suppose we name this point as N. See, the total market to be supplied is ON, but seller A is supplying a market which is equal to OQ. So the unsupplied market is QN. This portion is the unsupplied market. Now suppose seller B enters into the competition. Now seller B starts selling and he sees that QN is a market which is unsupplied. So he will be supplying QN, and what quantity will he be supplying will depend upon his marginal revenue curve. Now the demand which he has to cover is, suppose we name this as P. So the area of demand which he has to cover is, his demand curve would be Pn. So as a result he gets his marginal revenue curve like this. Let's name it as PM. PM is the marginal revenue curve of supplier B. Now supplier B, the marginal revenue curve cuts the x-axis, or we can say the marginal cost curve at, because again we assume that the cost is 0. So it cuts the x-axis at point M. Now at point M, the marginal cost is equals to marginal revenue. So this is the profit maximizing quantity which seller B can supply to the market. So we can also derive the prices also which the seller B will be charging in order to supply this market. So the seller B will be supplying, if we name this point as P dash and we name this point as R. So the seller B will be supplying QM of the market. This is the market supplied by seller B. QM will be the portion of market supplied by seller B. And what is the revenue which he is making? It will be equal to QRP-M. This is the revenue which seller B will be making. We still see here that MN is a portion which is still unsupplied, and we consider this portion to be half of QN. See, now see here carefully. ON is the total market to be supplied. This is a bit confusing thing, so you have to listen to this very carefully, that ON is a total market to be supplied. Now we assume that half of the market is already being supplied by A and half of the market of ON is equals to OQ, which is supplied by A. I suppose it is clear. Then QN is the other half of the market. Fine. QN is the other half of the market, and out of that half of the market, now when B enters into the competition, half of the market of QN is supplied by B, which is equal to QM. It is supplied by B. Now when B starts supplying the half of the leftover market which was not supplied by A, then B starts earning a profit because cost is 0. So this is the area of profit for B. And initially this was the area of profit for A, because for him also the cost was 0. This is the area of profit for B, and he is charging a price which is lower than the price being charged by A. He is charging a price OP1. So now A has no other option. He has to lower down his price in order to maintain his market share. So he will also lower down his price at OP1. Now what the other option is available to A? In order to maintain his profit level, now A has to decrease the quantity which he is supplying to the market. And how he will calculate that? Let's see. See, initially, let's consider that the whole market, we'll draw a table to depict that. Let's see, period, then A's market share, then B's market share. Now see, let's start with the first period. So what was happening in the first period? It was that only seller A was in the market. What seller A was doing? He was supplying half of the market. Let's consider that the whole market is equal to the quantity which has to be supplied is equal to 1. But seller A was supplying half of the quantity to be supplied. So seller A was supplying half of the market. Now what happened? Then B entered into the competition. So half of the market was unsupplied. Now when B starts supplying, he starts supplying half of the market. Half of the market was unsupplied. He starts supplying the half of the market which was unsupplied. So the market which B was supplying was 1/4 of the total market. Total market is 1. Okay. Then let's take as a reaction to this. Now see, we'll see a series of actions and reactions as a reaction to this, because due to this action by B, the price went down to OP1. A has to lower down his price. Now in order to maintain his profit maximization, he has to lower down the quantity also to supply which he was supplying to the market. Now what happens now is, because 1/4 of the market is now being supplied by B, so A has to find out that how much is the total market left. So how will he do that? And he will supply half of the total market left. That is half into 1 minus 1/4. 1/4 is the market supplied by B, and he will find out that what is the total market left. He will be supplying half of that total market left. So now he will be supplying 3/8 of the total market. Now what B will be doing as a reaction to this? Now he has to find out that what is the total market left after A has changed his market share. So what he will be doing? He will be finding out half of the market left after A has changed his market share. The whole market was equal to 1. 3/8 was the market which A has started supplying. So the leftover market will be multiplied by half, and that will be the market which will be supplied by B. Now again to this A will react. So our third phase starts. Now to this, when A reacts, he will find out that B has changed its market share. to 5 by 16. So he will find out what is the half of the market which is like leftover. That is, market leftover is 1 minus 5 by 16, and he will supply half of the changed market. So now he will supply 11 by 32. Now to this again B will react, and he will find out now what is the market left, and he will supply half of it. It will be equal to 1 minus 1132, and he will supply half of it, which will be equal to 21 by 64. Now again to this reaction by B, again A will take action. Now because price has also changed, so he has to adjust his output in order to maximize his profits. So again A will change his market share, and he will supply the half of the market left, because now the leftover market has changed. So he will again determine that what is the market left. He will do so by deducting the share supplied by B, and he will find out the leftover market, which is equal to this. Now again B has to take action. It will react to the A's moves, and he will determine that what is now the leftover market, and he will supply the left half of the leftover market, which will be equal to 1 minus 43 upon 128 is equals to 85 by 256. Now this series of actions and reactions will go on continuing until and unless both of them reach a stage where both of them are supplying equal market. See, as we can see here that as and on, first initially A started in the market, then B started supplying the leftover portion, due to which the price went down, and A has to adjust its output in order to maximize his profits and also maintain his market share. So we see here that as a result of series of action and reaction, A's market share is going down and B's market share is going up. So we'll reach a point where both of them will finally be supplying 1/3 of the market. This will go on, and you'll see to it that we'll finally reach a point where A and B, both of them will be supplying equal market. That is, A will be also supplying 1/3 of the market, and B will also be supplying 1/3 of the market. So this was Cournot's model. He started with a very simple concept of duopoly, where there are just two sellers in the market. But his model was extended to a normal oligopoly where there are more than two sellers in the market. Suppose there are 3 sellers in the market, 4 sellers in the market. Then if suppose there are 3 sellers in the market, then each one of them will be in the equilibrium when each firm supplies. Suppose there are 3 sellers, then all of them will reach a equilibrium when each one of them will be supplying 1/4 of the market. Similarly, if there are 4 sellers in the market, each one of them supply 1/5 of the market. Now you can very well see here, when there were 2 sellers, and we have seen the derivation also, when there were 2 sellers, each one of them were taking on 1/3 of the market. When the seller increased to 3, each one of them was supplying 1/4 of the market. When the seller increased to 4, then each one of them was supplying 1/5 of the market. So you can see here the relationship between the number of sellers and the market they are supplying. Like if the number of seller is 2, the market which is they are supplying, the denominator of that is 3. That is, it's one add on to the number of sellers. So we can very easily derive the formula in order to determine that what will be the market supplied under oligopoly under Cournot's model. It is equal to Q divided by N plus 1. Now where Q is equal to the market size and N is equal to the number of sellers, we can very easily see, suppose Q will always be equal to 1. If the number of sellers is equals to 5, then the market supplied by each seller under this model would be 1 divided by 1 plus 5. That is 1 divided by 6. So now I suppose that you understand that how price and output is being determined under Cournot's model in oligopoly type of market structure. And this particular model was the first of its type. It was the first formal model under oligopoly type of market situation. Plus this was a first model which assumed that the sellers in a particular type of market structure, that is oligopoly, don't compete on the basis of price cutting. They can compete on other non-price factors, suppose product differentiation, then market supplied, the quantity supplied and all. So this was all about Cournot's model of oligopoly. In the next session, we will be studying our last model related to oligopoly, that is collusion model. Till then, have a nice time and thank you for watching Edupedia World.